And so I want to go back to something that you mentioned just now and even before we started talking, and that is that influence is actually, there's a strategy and a science behind it. Now, I know this is a quick conversation and we don't have time to dive into all that it has, but why don't you just give us a couple of key nuggets of what do you mean when you say that there's a strategy behind it?
Yeah. So the best example I have is something that just happened, and I've been talking about this a lot. So Kylie Jenner, of all people, right?
Yes, I just saw your email this morning. Go ahead.
You saw that? Okay, yeah, okay. So I find this to be fascinating, right? Kylie Jenner, and everyone knows like her big sister, Kim Kardashian, right?
Yeah, right.
Known for just posting photos, and everyone's like, well, what talent do they have? What are they really doing? Well, a lot of people don't realize is that they run huge businesses. As a matter of fact, Kylie Jenner's cosmetics company is on track to be $1 billion company in 2022. It's the fastest growing cosmetics company in the history of the world. Now, recently, she posted on Twitter, it was a tweet, that she didn't, she didn't love Snap anymore, right? Snapchat. Within hours, Snapchat's stock dropped $1.6 billion. And all of the analysts pointed to her as the reason, her tweet as the reason, because they're thinking, okay, if she doesn't think that Snap should be used, then millions of other people won't think that, right? And what was fascinating to me, though, is that the lesson is not that she's this huge influencer and she dropped the stock price $1.6 billion. The lesson here is, what did she do next? Because when the stock price dropped, she then had the attention of every business journalist, every business analyst. She was on the cover of every business section of every major newspaper in the world. What did she tweet next? Well, you know what she tweeted next? She tweeted, hey, everyone, the new collection for my cosmetics line is dropping next week, right?
Why not, right?
Why not? But think about this. What better audience to tweet about a new product for your startup company than business journalists and analysts? So I think she serves as a great example, because what she did is she dropped content to the right people at the right time. That is how you become an influencer, and that is how you become a thought leader. You use primarily a strategy called content strategy. Content strategy means getting the right content to the right person at the right time. That's what.
How would you apply this strategy? How does someone that's every day, has a normal speaking career, speaking to audiences all over the country, what would you advise them? How would they apply that same strategy to their life and to their business?
So what do we do, right, as kind of people who, aspire to be a thought leader or
right.
Well, the first is you want to think about how you can become an authority in a space. Kylie became an authority through association. Other people like, Steve Jobs, right? He became an authority by understanding font. That's how he became an authority. Before Apple, right? He understood font. Fundamentally, he understood this, right? So you want to become an authority in a space. For me, I became an authority in the matchmaking space, right? In the matchmaking world. So you have to first become an authority in a space. The next thing that you have to do is you have to make bold predictions about what is happening in the space. You know, what we love in social media, but what we also just love generally is we love commentary. We love opinion. That's the reason why people sit at their television all night and watch either Fox or CNN, right? Because they love the commentary. That's very important for you to do in your industry. So as you're building your authority, then you want to give your opinion as to what is happening, the future of what's happening, make bold predictions around what's happening, you know? So part of that bold content is having a unique point of view, right, with content. This is very important. And then the last thing I'd say is that taking a page out of content strategy is you want to get your content out to the right people, right? At the right time.
And what would you say to someone that's saying either I'm just starting or I'm reinventing? What would you tell them that you wish you had known then?
All right, so this is a great question, because I was telling my wife last night, I was like, I am creating, the new version of Paul right now, right? And so I'm thinking, what would I have told myself now? Let me just do those things, right?
Yeah.
what I would have done, number one thing that I didn't do, and I wish I did, and taking a page once again from Kylie Jenner, I can't believe it.
Kylie is like all the business right now.
Is that she does a great job of gaining authority through association. This was very helpful for me when I launched my matchmaking business. You know, I created a web series and I distributed that web series on essence.com. Being associated with Essence that association gave me more authority, right? Then I got to deal with the Oprah Winfrey Network. That association gave me more authority. What I wish I did, though, is continued with that. I kind of stopped, right? And focused on other things. So what I would tell anyone is, if you are trying to quickly become a thought leader or quickly become an influencer, the fastest way is through association.
I think it's incumbent upon us as speakers to make a mark, to have influence. You know, it's not about us. We've certainly heard that from others as well. It's much less about your stage presence and much more about your content. It's much less about your hand gestures and more about the impact that you make. I think if we get on stage with a clear understanding of why we're there, why we're being paid, what's expected of us from the audience, which is have something to say, have something to teach. People get so worked up in how they look and moving to a certain spot and making a gesture. It's all nonsense. The reality is we need to get on stage and teach what we know, whether it's inspiring people, whether it's sharing content and transfer of knowledge. This is about having something to say. They're giving of their time, they're giving of their dollars, the meeting planner as well, and they're looking for return on investment. They're looking for content. And what I see sometimes as speakers get very caught up in how they look or the right dress. Not that those things are unimportant, but what's really important is having something to say. And when the people ask us who are not speakers, like, how do you get up in front of people and give that speech? I always say, I don't think about giving a speech. I'm not giving a speech. I'm teaching what I know. And I make a commitment to myself that I'm not getting off that stage until I've said what I have to say. The other thing is you have to be incredibly knowledgeable about your subject. If you're being given the privilege of standing on that stage and sharing content and knowledge, you better not be faking it until you make it. So become a student of your subject matter, of your industry. Learn what's new, what's changed. We have colleagues who, I think Joe Calloway talked about reading 50 newspapers a day or whatever he's doing online. But the people who are true thought leaders are people who are able to incorporate so much content and knowledge and wisdom from other people and filter it through their own experience. Now listen, for all of us, imagine we have sort of this box around our head, this 12-inch cube. Everything we know is in that box. And of course, everything we don't know is outside that box. So you have to keep learning if you want to stay relevant in this business.
So here's the thing, such great information, but here's the thing. You mentioned being a student of the craft, and both the craft and I would say the area of expertise that they're speaking about, right?
Yep.
Now, here's the thing. And I go back to the example of that you said the gentleman read like 50 different newspapers a day and all of that. Now, more than likely, I am sure there's somebody listening to this and they're just like, do you know my schedule? Do you know how, not even just being busy from speaking, but being busy just in life, whether it's from parenting, whether it's from business, whether it's from community, whatever it is. What advice would you give to that person to say, I want to do that, but my time is limited?
Right. Crafts. What I would say to people who are overwhelmed and busy is it's not just about doing more. It's about doing what you're already doing differently. It's about that multitasking. We spend a lot of time on airplanes, in rental cars, in hotel rooms. That's all downtime, whether it's an audiobook, whether it's an article, whether it's a book or a blog or videos from colleagues. There are very smart people who are much smarter than we are, who have a lot of things to teach. We have to take advantage of the time that we have to just continue to consume knowledge, because there are people behind us who are very smart, who are getting better, and there are people in our audiences who need more knowledge, who need more content, more wisdom. And I'm not saying you can't be an inspirational speaker, but you have to have relevant, current content to make it relevant and influential to them. If you want to make an impact, focus on the content, focus on teaching that content, and then build your business behind it.
Wow. So good. So good. Thank you so much, David.